thing to do is remove the dog bones. The engine tends to get off at 15 degrees warmer. Ready to lift that off? Got this one? Got it. Extension wire here for the coolant temperature sensor. This is hook up to the cam position sensor, crank position sensor, cam, what you want to call it. This guy out of there. Disconnect the linkage. You can probably just swing this out of the way. It shouldn't be a problem. Maybe when I pop the fuel rails off, I'll pop them over here. I'm not used to working on one.
7mm.
And you take the tensioner off to get to the bolts and remove this guy so I can get the valve cover off. Usually don't have to do this just for lower intake manifold gaskets, but since we're replacing your lifters over in there. With a pulley, I get this front pulley off so I can get to the bolt that I need to do.
Those don't seem to be torqued very.
They're torqued, they're about right. I mean, this is pretty long. Way here from me. Yeah, not much in there though. I might have an air ratchet for some of these. Makes it a lot easier. Takes a lot less time, but not today. Bolts, there's two bolts here. I mean, there's that bolt that's specific for that spot. Each bolt, there's 3 bolts in the elevator, each one specific. This is the shortest one here. If you, or this is a longer one here, this is a shorter one here. Yeah. And if you mix them up and you put this bolt back here, you'll punch a hole through your valve cover.
Nice.
So you can make sure. I usually, this bolt is slotted on the alternator, so I don't even take it all the way out. I just get it loosened up. And this guy.
You just swing it out of the way, or you
Yeah, it'll slide right off once I get this last bolt off here. Slides off, and there's an electrical connector right there. And off comes the alternator. This is your EVAP hose. Source of vacuum leaks are right around this guy. Alright, now the coil pack bracket can come off. Factories. This is super heavy. So now you can get to your valve cover bolts. That's it for that. All the wires on this side are disconnected. So I work to the back, and then usually I wrap it around each yard and keep it out of the way. Use a 6.10mm socket on this stuff because the shape of the bolts kind of makes it round off.
valve cover bolts?
Valve covers are actually 3/8 inch.
No, which bolts are we doing?
Map sensor bracket. This little bracket back here, map sensor. This is a bolt people forget about. Sometimes it's hard to find. Alright, now we're ready to, almost ready to remove the filters. Fuel rail. Fuel rail bolts, 10 millimeter, 4 of them. They're just, oh, actually, just nuts. It sits on studs.
What was that?
This brake brought to you by Pepsi. Caffeine-free Pepsi. You just lift up. Yep. Wiggle, wiggle, tug. Yeah, just dripping.
Okay, so we got some new O-rings.
I have some extras, but we can inspect them here. My hair really gummed up. Oil and coolant. Plenty of people have tried to remove superchargers and forgot this last bolt here. The bolt through the snout. Alright, now I'm going to pull this sucker off so if you want. Pull this guy up. Goopity goop, oh man, it's like oil. Soaking up. See, that's a coolant oil mix right there. It's got a hint of, it's mostly coolant. Just all sits back in here where you can't see it. You'll see it up in here sometimes, but. And some will drain coolant right away. Other ones will be plugged up with coolant. We're going to find out pretty quick here. I think this one might be plugged up, but I could be wrong. Nope. I'll drain out a little easier. Three bolts, 15 millimeter. One on top, two on bottom. One is visible. Two is not. Alright, this guy just wiggles out. So yeah, this coolant O-ring is not supposed to come out like that. Obviously, this elbow broke. Piece of it broke inside, and so did this one. It normally goes out to about here, so these will have to be replaced. You see that? See if this one breaks off too on the inside. Yep, he did the same thing. Both of them had both ends break off. You gotta make sure we remove those pieces then. They're trashed. Here?
Reuse the O-rings?
No, they come with new O-rings on the whole thing. Jeez, man, I've never had them go. And the one down here going to the water pump broke too. Usually you can see signs if you're having gasket issues when you're pulling these things out. And as these go, some go into a water jacket, some go into an oil jacket, or I think most of them go into, into oil areas. But the gaskets fail right in the middle of the head area, where the two coolant passages are, right here and here. So these bolts here, 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 and here will show signs of sludge on them. Move the EGR tube out of the way here. And there. Okay. And just lift it up. It might stick a little bit. You try to keep it even. There might be a little bit of coolant left in there, but your gasket's stuck on. And you can see the failure. Failure points are here. See how it buckled in? I don't know if you can see that with the light on there. And right here, they buckled in as well. Plastic gets brittle and just buckles in right there. Same thing up here and here. And then oil and coolant kind of mix and just seep up like this way. That's where you see all the signs of wetness right there. A little bit of sludge over here. I mean, there's sludge right there. Starting to separate, so we'll just take them all off together. And into the trash. Yeah, they're pretty gunky. Right there, see it? The hole. Yep. Let's wipe these off. A general wipe off. Nothing fancy. I'll clean real well later.
So if the valve cover gasket is leaking, the oil comes out and runs a certain way down the channel. I don't know if they replace the channel or just the gaskets. Chocolate brownie.
Yeah. That stuff just sticks on there. This is a GM Performance Parts piece I got.
The organizer thing.
Valve train organizer.
Nice.
So there.
I think that's a good place to put it today. That probably intentional.
Well, it's meant for a V8. I mean, obviously, it's got 8, 16 holes or whatever. So just break them loose first. You hear the click. That's the thread sealing on the old bolts coming off. Work them out. Off they come. So I keep the bolt in there, so it sits on that. That's for the bolt hole. These are for the lifters. These are for the push rods.
Nice.
Yep. And they have a little trough here to catch the oil.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. It was like $20, but it sure beats a piece of cardboard sitting on the floor. It gets kicked around.
Not bad at all. I kind of would have expected it more to be more expensive than that. I don't know.
It was special ordered to get it.
Especially so.
And you pull the push rods out. You let them. They'll have some oil on them, so you let them drip a little bit. These are rocker pedestals, and obviously that's your valve springs. It's the tip of the valve right there. There you go. I'm going to do these guys down here. Again, 3/8 inch. I just basically take these guys off, just turn them upside down for the oil to drain out of them. Now the lifters are free to come out. There's one. Okay. which one's the new one. And pour a little bit of oil
On
down each of the lifter holes. And rinse them down.
So, had I done it sooner, I probably wouldn't have been as bad.
You see how the one that lifter sits higher than the other?
Yeah.
It's because where the cam is. That valve's pretty much open right now.
Yeah. So the cam actually pushes on the lifter?
Yep.
On
The
the
cam
roller.
cam rolls on the lifter, or the lifter rolls on the cam with the little wheel, and that's what makes these valve trains pretty much last almost.
Do they have this? Doesn't matter which way they go up, in or
Well, I
out?
put them in. You try to orient them the same way, because they kind of like develop a seat for the rocker that they're going to. I mean, these are new lifters that they're going on, but when I put them in my valve train organizer, they're oriented correctly. So start with 6. Yep, I forgot. Gotta basically suck the oil out of the rocker bolt holes too. That will throw off your torque reading. You'll have a loose rocker and you'll have tap, 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 tap. That's the whole point of doing this was get rid of the tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
These are 11 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees. So 90 degrees just because it's torque to yield. So you tighten them until they click right there. Usually try to orient the wrench in a way that's this, and then just turn it 90 degrees.
$90 after the click? Or
After
what?
the click, yep.
Huh.
Just do a channel here. We'll tap a little bit of RTV to hold the gasket in there. It tends to fall back out. But since this is the front one, she should be fine. And if it would fall out, you'd see it hanging out the bottom. Using a utility knife because it's stronger, one, than a razor blade, and triangular gets in the hard to reach spots. You try to do it from top to bottom so that you're not pushing dirt into the intake man or into the lifter valve. Put it on. I mean,
It's probably easier now because that way
yeah,
you get all the.
throwing dirt towards the injector holes and stuff.
Yeah.
This is aluminum, so you have to be a little more careful with it. Cleaning work you need to do. Just start a flow. Use this to brake clean. Just spray it on here. Stinky stuff, huh? But it dissolves the oil on it, so you get a better surface to adhere to and stuff with the gaskets. Dab. 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 Okay. Tabs in the bottom that go on. It's not a left or right side, so just go in there. And there. I can put more dabs of RTV. Kind of see where the bolt holes are. Straight down, like so.
Like so.
Then start putting thread sealant and bolts in the holes. Just basically make sure the threads are all kind of coated. Now these bolts,
Lucked out.
these bolts you don't send all the way down to 11 foot-pounds right off the bat. You just work your way there. So it smushes out the RTV and the rubber. You know, just basically let it bottom out. Like that's the first one I did. And when I get back around to it, you'll notice that it goes down even more. I basically seated it on the intake manifold. But as you go around and do more and more bolts, it starts, squishing down. Hand to dry off first. Alright, now coolant O-rings. O-rings for coolant. going in easier than they were coming out.
That was exactly the size of it that I needed. So I was able to get a better grip and got it going.
17 pounds. Be careful with those hoses; they can make it mess. The nice thing is your O-rings are in good condition because of this. They didn't dry out because they've got oil. They've been sitting in oil.
Yeah, that they have.
Let's get that match sensor installed. Click.
Gave up on the gloves,
Huh?
Gave up on the gloves?
Yeah. It's like, well, they're already dirty. Looks good. Belts, oil change, coolant. I think we're ready to fill her with fluids. This side leave unhooked for the first cranking and stuff. Because crank it without fuel and spark to build up the oil pressure. Fill it with fluids. Oh, need to hook up the throttle linkage.
Can't get very far without throttle linkage.
Run it once and then wait a couple seconds and turn it off. Need to build up the fuel pressure.
Should I crank it or?
Turn it off. It makes weird noises after you turn it off. Turn it on to run, but don't crank it again. Keep it there. Check for. I'll use my other light here. Check for fuel. It's dry. Yeah, crank it for like 10 to 15 seconds here.
Just turn it and keep.
Crank, yep. Let's sit for a couple seconds here. Okay.
Same thing?
Mm-hmm. Okay, turn it off. We got to get the plug wires right before we fire it. Okay. Plus, I want to have my scanner here I want to have my scanner here to watch the coolant temperature go up, because if all of a sudden it might speed up, and we got we have to let it hit like 210 and then turn it off. We're ready, Freddie? Oil's in, coolant's in, everything's in. Open that door so